Alright everybody, this truck comes with the Infinity audio system, but it doesn't come with the radio controls on the back of the steering wheel. That's a deal breaker for me, so we're going to install that. Let's get started. So what you're going to want is the harness from a steering wheel that already has these switches. Super easy to come by and find it at the junkyard for $5. These switches that are $25 on Amazon, depending on where you get them from. Now, I'm going to include a picture of it, but back when I did mine, I actually took off the whole steering wheel, and then I just took off this plastic shell here, and I put one in that already had the cuts for the switches. But for this time, I'm just going to use the Dremel and make the holes because this is blue and I didn't feel like going through all that trouble this time. So the first thing we need to do is take off these cruise control switches. They're really easy. It's just a T15 Torx screw that goes right back here. With those switches out of the way, we can use a T30 Torx bit to take out these two Torx screws. Those are going to hold on the airbag and horn assembly. But before we do that, we got to disconnect the battery to keep this from potentially exploding. Alright, so at this point you would just take out this harness and then you would just put in the other part number 560-45649 AC instead. And then it would just have the plugs for the steering wheel radio controls already in it. And since this has the Infinity unit already in there, the C2 pin 12 in the back of the gauge cluster should already have the wire going to it that you need. And so that should be it. And then it's just reassembling all that. Alright, so I'm just taking the switch on a piece of cardboard. I'll just cut that out and use this as our template. It's pretty close. We'll start with that. Now we've got our switches in both sides. See them right there, and we just have to put the wire harness back in. Keep this from potentially exploding. Just so everyone can see, there is a little gap here at the top and the bottom, but you can only move this switch so far back before it's kind of out of reach. So, you know, just from holding the steering wheel while driving, that's about as far as you can really go comfortably. Otherwise, you'll be reaching all the way back there. So, no big deal though, it's good enough for me. So if your truck didn't come with the Infinity audio system, you might be missing a couple wires and there's going to be one extra step. So we'll start by taking off this clamshell. And then underneath of here, there's going to be 3 T25 Torx screws, one right here, here, and here. So now to get the gauge cluster out, super easy. Just gonna let those down, pull that down, pop this out. Make sure you get the screw in there first. Pop that out. Then we're gonna get the two screws that are right here and right here. Then we'll get the four screws that are right here, right here, right there, and right there. All right, so now we're going to be able to access C2, which is this one, pin 12. If you count back on the bottom 4, 12 is going to be this red wire with the blue stripe. Okay, so here we've got our plug at the back of the clock spring. It's got 6 pins. The first one's going to be empty in every case, and the pin that we are worried about is going to be 3. 3 is probably not going to be there if you have the base audio system. In this case, it is light gray with a white stripe. You're going to need to insert that pin into your plug. So what I recommend doing is going to the scrapyard, cutting off this plug entirely, and that way you can get several pins to pull out and then insert into yours, because you'll probably just need this 3rd pin. We're going to run that wire from the 3rd pin of the clock spring to the 12th pin of cluster C2. So if we looked at the wire diagrams for clock spring C1, we can see that the radio control mux is going to be the only one in that plug that has to do with the radio control switches. That's going to be X20 in pin 3. Circuit X20, if you page search that like I have up here, is only going to give you 3 results, which makes it really hard to figure out where it goes. It'll only show you the radio switch, and it's going to show you this plug C203 steering column to, I believe that's integrated power. That doesn't tell you anything about where it actually goes. It's kind of a dead end. So then if you take and page search the wire gauge and color, you can find a little bit more info in this 1981 page service manual. So if you go down to here, you can actually see it turns into circuit X10, and it'll actually show you where that goes. Instrument cluster C2, pin 12, 20 red/dark blue, radio control mux. So then if we page search circuit X10, we get 2 results, one from the gauge cluster, and then this one happens to be the other side of C203. So we find out that that dead end from before, which is B6X20, on the other side of the plug just turns into X10. So there you go. That's the proof in the pudding. I'll show you how to insert a pin into this plug using my 2004, which is going to be exactly the same process. And I'll also show you how to insert a pin into cluster C2 using my 2004, which is the same exact thing. Alright, I'm going to pull one of these pins just to show you how it's done. The best thing you can use is a sewing needle, because you can get the pointy edge underneath the piece of plastic to be able to let this free. Basically, these pins work like a fishing hook, and then that piece of plastic is the only thing preventing it from sliding out. So you're going to get up under it, push the piece of plastic up, and then it'll slide out. Basically, if we look in here, way in the back, there's a piece of plastic right there. So we're going to dive the needle in, we're going to get underneath of it and push it up. On the plugs we'll be working with, we are able to pop this back open. So we got to hold the wire, go in underneath of it, pry it up, and I got it free, just like that. And then to insert a pin is even easier. All you do is open this back up and then slide it right in. There was a really tiny click that probably couldn't be heard when that reached all the way in. But that's all there is to it. You're just going to do that for both of these. With the white plug of the clock spring, we're able to just bend back the outside, which will allow the pin to slip out. This one's a little different. You're going to need to get underneath this white piece right here and pop it out, and that will allow these pins to be free. But you'll still need to come through the top of the needle and pry that plastic out of the way. We get underneath of it like that. That's as far as you need to get this white piece back, just the 1/16 of an inch or so. And then from there, we can come right underneath of the pin we want to pull. And you can actually see the plastic this time right there. Get underneath of it, pry it, pin comes free. Just like that. And then just like before, to insert it is even easier. Little click and you're all good.
Where to go?